So my talk is about the importance of completing from good enough to great. I thought about this because a lot of us have the issue where you have a really great idea and you don't really know where to start, or you get partway through and you don't complete. We know a lot of people like this. You always know a guy with a great idea, and he always wants to pitch it to you, and it's like, hey, help me make this thing. And that's all he does. He stops there. That's where his effort stops. So I was thinking about doing this, and I came across this quote from a comedian. Percentage-wise, it is 100% easier not to do things than to do them, and it's so much fun not to do them, especially when you're supposed to do them. In terms of instant relief, canceling plans is like heroin. John Mulaney, comedian. So this is, for a lot of people, you kind of get this. You talk to people, it's like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? And they're like, nothing. It was great. You know, and you're like, yeah, I know, right? Staying home, amazing. You know, but why is it so hard to complete things? And I looked up a lot of things to research this because I really want to find out why. And I came across a chart, which, there it is, which definitely talks about how we feel when we do a project. You definitely start with this idea. It's like, I got a really great idea. I want to do it. And we're all here today with a great idea. You want to do it. And it's going to be pure joy to start. It's going to be amazing. And then you're going to start to refine a little bit. Depth and shaping becomes a little less fun. You're starting to get into the weeds of what you're trying to do. And the point where we all start to really feel the effort is when we hit the slog. Because that's the point where you're going to be like, all right, I've got the general idea of what I want. My proof of concept is down. I kind of get the feel of how this is going to go, but now you have to connect them together, the pieces together, and clean it all up. And then you're at the finishing point, where it takes a long time to finish. And that's where it gets rather difficult. For a lot of people, a lot of us get very discouraged partway through, and we tend to slow down a lot and eventually put the project off. So I asked the question, are we bad at completing things? We could be. 19% of people will keep a New Year's resolution for 2+ years, but they will slip about 14 times in the process. 17% of people keep weight off after a structured diet plan. So they've made a conscious effort to do this, and they still have problems. 42% of people will be able to keep unwritten goals. And that's, you know, the offhanded goals that you just kind of make. It's like, yeah, I'm going to try to do this. I'll try to, you know, go to the gym more. I'll try to make more time to, you know, play soccer, you know. And just for fun, I've included some reference data. Oh, it's far too small. The history of U.S. presidents keeping their promises. And the average is about 67%. And that's kind of for fun. A lot of us, you know, have these goals that we make. And the ones on the left especially are goals that we make without restrictions from a lot of other people. When you have things like presidential promises, there are a lot of other factors that go into play. It's really hard to say that they keep the promise they've just made. But if people want to lose weight, they can try. People make goals that are unwritten, they can try to keep those. And there are not a lot of other factors keeping them as a restrained. So the answer is, yeah, we're kind of bad. We're bad at keeping promises, making our goals stick. And there are side effects too, which is why it's important to think about these things when we don't complete a goal. What happens? Part of the side effects, aside from not completing a project, procrastinating can cause increased stress to our everyday lives, causing health issues, fatigue, anxiety, high blood pressure, lower self-esteem, all the good stuff. Giving up can be a learned behavior through negative reinforcement. Kind of what I quoted earlier. Sometimes the relief of not doing something becomes so gratifying you stop doing things, and that's very dangerous to keep propagating. You have less experience dealing with and overcoming obstacles and learning material. We all know that the more we do something, practice does kind of make perfect. Our mind will actually learn to do things better, solve problems, look at different solutions, and analyze problems in a different way the more we do them. And finally, people's trust in your ability to complete a task is decreased. This is largely problematic when you start working with everyone else as well. So if you say you want to do something, try to do it. But it's easy. You can become a completionist, and it's not that hard to do. A lot of it is just find the right mindset to do so. So for my research, I found a really great article that told me some easy steps, and I thought it was really great to kind of break it down and to present it really quick. One is to determine the tasks that are worthwhile before starting. So you don't just go off and be like, you know what, I want to be like Tony Stark. You know, it's like, oh, there's a lot in there. You know, it's such a large task. You want to break it down. But, you know, is it something you really want to work toward? Next, you would view a task as an experiment or a commitment. It's okay, the next one, to quit experiments. If you just want to try out a new form of exercise, go for it. You're not quitting it if you stop, you're trying it out. So mentally, you know you're going in with an experimentation phase and that you're not going to burden yourself with the idea that like, well, I didn't complete it. You can try it, see if you like it, and that's not quitting. Well, all right. Lastly, it's okay to quit commitments. It's not okay to quit commitments. You want to keep those. So mentally, you are ready to maintain something and to follow through with your promise. And that will overall help you with trying to complete items. Lastly, just a quick quote. It's the last one. If you're shooting for good enough, not finishing is a great strategy. But if you're shooting for great, then finishing is where greatness emerges. And this is extremely important because the slog and the finishing are the most important phases of that diagram. You want to get through those, you want to push through, and only then will you make a good product. Thank you.